Ted Jones messed with the wrong melon farmers.
Ted Jones, I also call him the eighth wonder of the real estate world.
Ted Jones, who knows, it could be...
Ted Jones?
The Ted Jones World Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the 63rd episode of the Ted Jones World Podcast. I am your host, Ted Jones, alongside producer Katie, 45-degree angle, actually about. How you doing, Katie?
I'm doing fantastic.
Katie, the production value on my background right now is something we got to talk about. Katie made the suggestion vaguely, probably like 6 or 7 weeks ago, that we got to put something of substance behind the Ted Jones World couch here. And it looks pretty good.
We're looking great.
You know what I mean? People watching on YouTube know exactly what I am speaking of, this lovely map behind us of the world, because this is Ted Jones World. Because
we happen to be in
we discuss the news here every week, and we also get some topic episodes going on. But Katie, I want to run back to the last episode that we had you here. Was that episode 61, correct?
Yes, 61.
It was, right, episode 61. You were saying that you were going to be working the polls. Now, I don't want anyone with a dirty mind out there to think what you're thinking. But Katie is actually fresh off of poll working the election. So can you please describe what that was like? I know they were paying you some solid cheddar, but what was that like?
They paid me, I got decent cheddar. I got like $350 for it.
Oh, wow. For one day?
Yeah, plus the training, so no.
Oh, okay.
It was total, like 22 hours of work. Okay. And I got $350. So you're making like a cool like 12 and a half. Yeah, something like that. And it was on the day of, it was election day. I did 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pretty robust amount of time spent just like sitting and staring at the wall, because the day was actually pretty quiet. In the beginning, there was a rush from like 6 a.m. to 7, and then after that, people kind of came in once every 30 minutes or something.
And what was your main job? Were you like checking people in, or like showing people how to vote? What was your job?
So I had a very crucial job, actually.
Oh, okay.
I was checking people in and handing them ballots.
Nice. So you were handing them that enormous form.
Yeah, well, that enormous form.
So
as
you know, and I'm sure if people listened to like one of the mini clip episodes, I can't remember which one, but I actually, that was my first time voting. And I went in there, right? my mother was telling me it was going to be super easy. You just go in there, fill in the circles. But I felt like I was at my old SAT test, and I didn't know that you had to vote for everyone else also.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I was a little confused.
I guess your voting district it's around here, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is not publicly known. Chelsea, we say.
Sure.
Chelsea, we say here on the Ted Jones World Podcast.
Yes.
So where is your place? Right here, like within 5 blocks?
No, it was I guess it was between Chelsea and Union Square, if you want to get descriptive about it. Being New Yorkers. It was right next to Union Square, actually, like 16th between Union Square and 5th. Yeah, at a big school. Yeah, totally. In the gymnasium.
I've been there before.
Where did you actually do your poll working?
I was up by Columbus Circle, so like 58th between 7th and 8th, something like that. So it was the district was a lot of like older, wealthy people, and like a lot of them came in.
Did they seem like they knew what they were doing?
I mean, yeah, they're all people who like they're like most. I think the median age was probably like 85 years old. Median age, whatever that means.
Right. So median is like the middle number.
It's like the middle number.
So it was like between 60 and 100 year old.
Yeah, something like that. So exactly.
That's even the meaning of median.
No, that was like pretty good, I think. That was like a pretty good description of it. But so a lot of people came in like with attendants pushing them in a wheelchair, or like they'd be in the very beginning in the morning. There was kind of a line. And
that sounds like voter fraud to me.
Yeah, I'd probably, it really sounds like voter fraud to all of us. No, it actually, I kind of said this last time, like, it's pretty hard to do voter fraud on any more than like a one at a time basis. Like, I couldn't imagine, unless you had so many people in on it, you can't really fake like more than one ballot at a time. Like if I went, if I went to the poll and I wanted to vote for you, then like I could say your name and give you that info. I mean, there would be obvious discrepancies.
Wait, how do you mean vote for me? You mean vote as me?
I'll say like, yeah, vote as you. If I wanted to take your identity and vote as you, like that's as far as I could take it. And like when you went to go vote and you checked in, if I went before you, they'd be like, "Oh, sir, you already voted. You can't vote."
Right.
And
it's
then
not like
you'd be
they're
like, "No, it
doubling
wasn't
up
me."
on the same person voting.
Yeah, it's like just like not really possible to do that.
Right. But you had a good time, and
Yeah, I did.
and you are a serving member of society. So thank you.
I did.
Producer
Never
Katie
again.
doing things outside of the podcast, which we love.
Rare.
Okay, Katie. So let's get into this documentary movie that we
did we even intro?
both watched.
Did we intro that? Okay, so we wanted to do an episode right after the election. Today's Tuesday, 1 week after the election,
Yes.
right? And we didn't want to talk about all of this going on because
No, we
we're
didn't wanna talk about
not
the
not the
election.
best ones for it.
We're
You're
also
not gonna come
we're
to
also
us looking
biased.
for it.
No, we're not
We've gotta-
biased.
Well, yeah, I don't really care. I
Unbiased.
don't really care not to be biased. Otherwise, we thought that we should come together today and talk about a movie that had me screaming.
In
frankly.
how do you mean? All right. Well, I guess we should just tell them
I
the
guess we
movie
should just
initially.
go
So
on.
HBO Max, Class Action Park.
Yeah.
It was basically this documentary movie that was put together by HBO Max, of course, and this guy Gene Mulvihill put together this idea, like got all these investors to make a water park motor world situation, just
Yeah,
basically
okay.
creating a full-fledged summer camp for kids that was basically supervised by kids.
Yeah, it's like very like Lord of the Flies.
So is it?
territory.
Yeah. So it's in Vernon, New Jersey. So as you
So
know,
close.
I grew up in Jersey. I lived there for 6 weeks before
Right.
I
Grew
before I
up,
headed
smooth,
to
grew up.
before I headed to New York City. But I've asked people who have grown up in New Jersey, and they said that they've been to the park before.
That's so funny.
And it's quite crazy.
That's so. I actually recently, before we decided that we would go on Class Action Park, I thought of it originally. You had said it to me before that you'd seen it, but a friend of mine was describing that she had been to not Action Park itself, but because she's a little too young, but the new one that
Right.
they like replaced
And
it with.
it's apparently not as badass at all.
Well, like there's
Like
the
you
one
can't
today.
die. You can't die.
Yeah, you
going there
can't die.
this time.
There's one from 2020 or like whenever they did it. They said it in the dog. I don't know, maybe like
Yeah.
in the 2010s, like a new place took it over, but she kind of still went in like the halfway shanty one. Like
Okay.
there's maybe some like scratches here and there. But the reason that we even brought it up was because do you remember that auction like over a year ago? Do you remember this at all? Like
Oh yeah, I do. You
Yeah,
have to tell. You have to
right.
tell the story.
So my first auction, I got really drunk because that's what one does at an auction. At least like
Really?
I mean, it was free.
Well,
it
you
was all
did.
free.
Go ahead. Right.
It was all being
Oh,
pushed upon. I mean,
right.
it's
Open
not
ba-
my
open bar
fault.
auction.
Open bar
Right.
auction. First auction. You know, I mean, like at this point, this is like over a year and a half ago. I'm only a few years out of school. Like, all right, I got a job. I'm saving money. Whatever. I gotta buy something at the auction, 100%. The second item, I barely even heard what it was. I heard ski trip and I heard starting at 500. Somebody said 500 and I said 750. And the whole room just completely shut up.
She's right. The jaws dropped.
I think
Who's
the
this
music
big spender
stopped.
over here?
I think the music stopped and I won the bid. And this is now like May 2019. And it's at Mountain Creek Resort, which is the new action park. And now I'm saying I gotta go because I
Right.
haven't been.
Oh,
It's been sitting in my back
wow,
pocket.
small world. No,
Yeah,
I know that
small worlds.
you've been kind of meaning to drop that 750 and go on this
Yeah, I've been
excursion.
I did already drop the 750 actually. Back
Oh, right, but they
then.
still owe you.
I tried
the
to
trip.
weasel out a little
Right,
bit.
right. No, but it was for charity, right?
Yeah, it was like a charity.
So you
thing.
screwed. All right. So background story there, Katie. That was lovely. This guy, Gene Mulvihill, basically big Wall Street guy, was kind of excommunicated from Wall Street when he had like a securities fraud issue. He was selling people stocks that were worthless, whatever. The whole SEC scam. You know how it goes. So he basically put together a large pool of money from investors and then just got architects to come together and
they're all like
make a
disgraced.
make a shitty contraption for the least amount of money.
Because they're all like, or the main Gene was like, he's a disgraced Wall Street guy.
No, that's what I mean. He got convicted for securities fraud, so he basically couldn't work in Wall Street any longer.
Right.
So he had to come up with some like outrageous idea where he just had architects put together rides that would hopefully work.
Yeah, unreal.
And then he did. Go ahead.
The way it's like, hopefully, the way that they said like, okay, hopefully it'll work. It's like,
yeah,
they get like. The very first ride they show is this thing. It's called the Cannonball Loop.
The Cannonball Loop was wild.
I was screaming.
I was dying at Gene just waving $100 bills too for like the teenagers to come down and try it out. He's like, "Hey, who's gonna get this $100?"
I was truly lost. So this guy, he built a water slide that it's like probably like. What's less than 45-degree angle? Let's say 20. Let's
10.
call it a smooth 20.
Yeah.
That kind of drop. And then after however long it takes going that far, it just does a full like tight loop circle and then just right down in, and then it like looks like that's not the one where you're shooting out the side of a mountain in the end, right?
No, that's no. There's a few. There's the Tarzan swing where people like weren't able to just let go of the string and they would go into the cold plunge of water, or other people would go on the Tarzan swing and they couldn't hold up their body weight, so they would just fall immediately.
And then they said all the kids at the Tarzan
that's one of the scarier things I've ever heard in terms of like being embarrassed, having like 100 kids like watching you go into the Tarzan loop or whatever. Not even Tarzan loop.
It was the Tarzan drop.
Swing.
It was like a bunch of like hundreds of kids would be lined up waiting to do this, and then one kid would just grab a rope and then jump off a cliff, swing into the water, fall into the water. And then so many kids are like, yeah, but like if even like one hand is slightly out, like you're gonna break your wrist when you hit the water, and like it's all just totally. And then you have all the kids who are waiting at the top screaming at you like, pussy.
Yeah, literally. The most dangerous one, and the one that they said like people would get the most injured from, was the concrete slide that was surrounded by cliff rock. Do you know what I'm talking about? Alpine, yes. Alpine slide. You just literally be flying down in like a saucer, and the amount of times that kids would just flip, or they couldn't turn at like key parts. They would just flip and then just eat rocks. Unreal.
Literally.
How about the kids going to the infirmary, and then what do you think that stuff was that they sprayed on them?
I think that kind of makes.
Or they maybe said it was like alcohol and iodine or some crap like that.
Which like I don't deeply know what that means, but I guess that's just like ultra pure like cleaning solution.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Do you think that even works? I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess they would know.
Probably not.
I would have loved to have gone. I would have definitely picked and chosen my rides, but like Tarzan swing for sure, not the Cannonball Loop. The Colorado River ride, just being super realistic, but like pretty unpredictable. I think that could be fun.
You'd be down.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to get in any fights with anyone. You know, like apparently that's where the most fights were.
Yeah.
When people were just banging at each other in the tubes.
Totally, because
I can understand that too.
Yeah, right. They had beer also all over.
I don't get that. So they were saying that it was filled with like, you know, teenagers and then older teenagers too, but they didn't really mention anyone in their 20s, you know, going to the place. And
I think that alcohol was probably 18 then.
No.
Let's see.
No. Unless it was the state of Jersey, but I think alcohol has been 21 for a super long time.
Let me see.
That'd be an interesting little fact.
I'm on the Office of the Attorney General.
But like the young teens as staff, like such a camp vibe. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's like, you ever see Wet Hot American Summer?
No.
That's like that kind. I mean, it's a comedy.
I've heard
scripted.
it.
It's really good.
Who's in it?
It's got so many people. I mean, you want to see the original one that's like from probably 2000, but it's like Amy Poehler, Job from Arrested Development.
We gotta find that other fact. I don't want to find that out because that'd be actually insane. Oh, I do love a Paul Rudd, so we'll see.
Love a Paul Rudd. It's okay. It only became 21 in 1988.
Wow.
In 1980, when the legal drinking age in New Jersey was changed to 19, fatalities were at an all-time high.
Oh my God! And and there was I guess a mother of like a son who passed away at Action Park. And she was just saying, like, it was a place where death was tolerated.
So brutal.
Which is very deep.
And so true.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, one of the scarier things, like, in my opinion, was probably the wave pool, where they would just have to stop it, like, every 20 minutes to make sure nobody's at the bottom drowning or dead.
And I wrote, okay,
and then the one time they actually did find a dead kid, and then, like, they still didn't shut down the wave pool.
Yeah, and then a second kid died in the wave pool. Remember he was saying that? He was like, all right, you're the first person to die in a wave pool. Like, all right, that's a tragedy. That's really sad. But then you're the second guy to die in a wave pool. You're like, what did I do to deserve this?
You know, it was a wild time back there. Excuse me, back there and back then, just because people really didn't know anything about water parks and like or theme parks, really, for that matter.
Yeah,
I feel like it was the biggest theme park in the world at the time. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
It says, by the way, correcting the record.
I hope I was right, by the way, just making a bold statement like that. I'm pretty sure I am
probably right. It's
no, it was 70 acres.
1980. In 1980 it was 19.
Uh-huh.
And in 1983 it was 21.
Right. So this is the time where, you're right. It was like 18 years old.
And it said it's just because so many drunk driving accidents.
Right.
And
I bet
like
a lot was from.
no
literally.
No doubt.
I bet it was from Vernon, New Jersey. Seriously.
100%.
So they were saying that like, kids who like didn't go to the Jersey Shore or whatever, the kids would just go to Action Park. Yeah, and just drink all day.
That's so sick.
I mean, it sounds fun, honestly. The wave pool and drinking though, not ideal in my opinion.
There was one guy who, I mean, like anyone who watched it knows, like every speaker is like some kind of testimonial, like, yeah, I work at the park or whatever.
Yeah.
One guy was like, yeah, I would go all the time every day, and I just like never went on one ride because people died on the rides. And you're like, yeah, totally, I can get behind that. I think that's what I would have done.
Yeah, well, I think that just besides the dangerousness, if that's a word, I think it's a word. The danger. Yeah, okay, fine. The danger in riding one of these rides, too, is that you could get hurt on the ride. But then also, on top of that, is like when you go into the freezing river water and then you just like shiver
people
up.
Like, yeah, some
people had to like get taken out of the people had to get taken out of the river or whatever. How about the CFS bracelets?
That's funny.
That was funny. Can't fucking swim. It was like if somebody got caught earlier in the day.
If somebody already got saved earlier in the day, then they would just slap a bracelet on them.
Yeah, like
and they,
why are you still
doing jump.
So dumb?
It's funny how they do. I mean, like, I think the movie does a good job. The documentary does a good job of like positing it from all different viewpoints. But the best conclusion, the best takeaway moment was when they're just like, yeah, like it was crazy, but like that was the 80s, and like kids will probably never have unbridled fun ever again. And like that, while I think like that's something that has a lot of merit and like is a fun thing to reminisce on, I just thought it was a little awkward the way the movie like put that right next to the mom with the dead kid.
Right. It seemed at the end, but also like, at the end of the movie, it was with the parents at the cemetery, which was like a little bit tough.
I thought it was so weird that it's the cemetery shot and they have like a drone flying up getting the overhead of the cemetery, and they have like a rock song
and then zooming out, right? And then they have like the guy Chris Gethard or something, Gethard, I don't know how to say his name. He just like says just some quote about the place being legendary.
Were most of those people like comedians who just were from New Jersey?
I think so, because I recognize a few of them. Well, except for the people that worked there.
Right.
Yeah, but there were definitely a few people who I recognized, and it's funny, like there are no places in the in the U.S. that I know of that are like theme parks, water parks, or any sort of place where there's just no adult supervision. You know, and I think this this in terms of like being a Wall Street gig too, like bringing in as many people as possible, spending as little money as possible, and just to have all these people get rich. So I think that like this was kind of like a period in time, like you said, the 80s or whatever, when the states and the cities were getting so much tax revenue from these businesses that they didn't really fully care until people started dying.
No, but I think people were dying for a while. And then it wasn't until
I'd be interested to know how many people actually died there. I don't know if you can you can get that record up, but like Mulvihill, the guy who ran the place, he would apparently never report any like injuries and anything unless an ambulance came.
Sad. That was really sad that the mom of
the guy was a wheeler dealer.
6 people died. That's what I thought.
6 total people. And that was over the span of how long was that? How long was
like 8 years? Let me see.
How long was it open though?
How long?
Action Park.
I keep
You know, it's just also crazy how people will just listen to anyone with a big personality and like crazy ideas. Like this guy Adam Newman who founded WeWork, and then the valuation of his company was like billions of dollars, and then all of a sudden, just because it was that high, because some people believed in him, and then the market was like, dude, like this doesn't make any sense. And now he lost a lot of cash.
A lot of cashish. Billions.
Yeah.
It's like that show Billions.
Yeah, literally. It is like that show Billions.
It's almost like that show Billions.
He lost the money. The guy in Billions has the billions.
Minus versus plus.
Right. Go ahead.
18 years.
18 years it was open and 8 deaths. It's like
6.
one every other year. 6? So once every 3 years. See, the thing is with like one death every 3 years, I'm sure that it didn't mathematically equate to that. But
some of them were like within 2 weeks of each other.
I feel like there was room for some being like, oh, it wasn't our fault. It was the kid's fault. Totally. So I don't even really know how that was handled initially, but it just seemed like Gene knew what he was doing. He knew how to put together a scrappy business plan, even if he was making rides on his napkin. Literally, he drew the cannonball loop on his napkin, and then when like the PVC pipe started getting super hot in the summer, it was like expanding, and then the guy went down it, and then what did he go? He went over the highway and like a rubber ball into a swamp. You remember that?
In the ball, and it wasn't a rubber ball, bro. It was like a hard metal ball.
Right. That's what it made. I think it made.
And
it
he was
super
like, it
fast.
was so hot in there, and there's like he's like a projectile launches into the highway. Oh my god, I was screaming at this moment.
I would have liked if they brought someone who was super injured by the documentary on the film.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
just because they were talking a lot about how people got super hurt. I would have loved to see someone with like a 20-year-old black eye.
Yeah,
or something.
Right. Just like forever bruised.
Yeah.
The thing with the napkin, it's that like not only it's like 40. Mm-hmm. Damn.
Yeah, it's not 2004. Go ahead.
These guys were saying that like he would draw a loop on a napkin, just have like line straight down, draw a loop, and then just go get like builders, like just like
not even builders. He remember remember those 2 weird like scientists, crack-a-lacka looking fellows who used to follow him around to like conventions and were like, we can do your designs.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that Gene, having those two like engineers, I put engineering quotes like by his side, really just gave him access to all of his nuts ideas. And it's insane how almost every kid who went on the ride was just a test subject.
100%.
Just because it's not a safe ride, and like now, well, I think the thing was back in the day, kids were like excited that you could potentially get hurt. It was like rad and like 80s and endearing. Totally. But now if you go to like a fair, like a carnival, I mean, even then you trust the carnival, like you're not going on rides being like, well, I might fly out of this the hanging door swinging thing, or not or the hanging pendulum,
but the boat,
excuse me, or the boat,
the pirate's boat,
or anything like that. So it's definitely it was a weird part in time, just because like I think if anything opened up like this now, even if the law didn't really give a shit about it, I don't think people are that mischievous anymore. Maybe
people definitely are, I think, but I think the difference is that like citizens are way more like free to sue people than they used to be.
Sure, but would you think that if it was just a free-for-all, you go there, you sign something, and you know, all right, this is how it is. Like, you could get hurt. This potentially would. I just don't think that it would have that much of an impact on today's society than it does.
Wait, so
than it
which
did
way
back
you
then.
mean?
I'm saying that now, if that was around, I don't think people would ever think about going there. Just with with
no way.
I don't know, with people just being so much more aware, maybe now
and of your
so
kids
of like your
too.
health. Yeah, and you like
Like
what,
not
you
even
wouldn't
just about you.
right,
It's
right.
like
You totally wouldn't let
they
your
said
kids
that
go.
there was one moment in the doc. I mean, for the whole time they were talking about how
with
so
the
many of these kids
with the divorced parents. You mean?
Yeah, and like kids, people, all the people who were interviewed for it were just like, I would come home at like 10 p.m. after school, and my parents like didn't even ask. Like it just wasn't really. Now, I mean, I don't know what that transition was, but at some moment, like in the 90s. It became very hot and in to start like watching your kids.
Well, I think so too, and I think it started with like the internet age in terms of like maybe in like the early 90s or the mid 90s when AOL came around and MSN and whatever, and they had these messenger features and you can watch your kid from your AOL account to his or her AOL account and see
it's like parental
what
controls.
websites they're
That's interesting. That's
going
totally
what
right.
what website they're visiting. And it's become more and more a thing, like when the parents started buying their kids cell phones in 4th grade, it's because they wanted to be in communication with their kid because they, are so worried about them or whatever it is. And I think that parents in general nowadays having more access to see what kids these days are doing, whether it's through TV, whether it's through their own Facebook, it just seems like things are a lot more accessible, which they freaking are.
Right.
And
it's like a microchip.
Yeah, and we also have the option now to go to Jersey and go to a Six Flags, which is insured, or you could potentially sue them, and you have engineers that are actually credible and stuff like that.
And like they really don't want you to sue them, and they think you will. So
right. Like Gene knew, the guy who started Action Park, he knew that he would just drag.
Yeah, he's like, no one's gonna sue me because like no one's gonna tweet. Like now it's like,
and the corrupt lawyers too, being like,
right.
look, you're not gonna win this case, lady. You might as well just settle with this guy.
There wasn't the same like court of public opinion as there is now. Like now, like if I went and broke my neck at Class Action Water Park, I could like
Action Park
without even contacting their lawyers or whatever it is that one does when you sue. I could just tweet out pictures of my injury and then get
and tag them
millions.
Look what y'all did.
Yeah, and then like it's done. Like they didn't even need to get sued. Versus like the 80s, it's not really such a thing. And there was also, what was it? Oh, this guy was talking about water parks and amusement parks now, and it's like the point is that you're supposed to feel unsafe, but you are very safe. And so like
you're talking about water parks and amusement parks now.
Like now,
absolutely.
Like your legs dangle.
You go on the Superman, as you said. You go on the swinging freaking boat.
Right, and like I think that like trust in like the business establishment that you're going to is so secure. It's the same as like Borat. We talked about that. Like when you're on camera, you just like have to assume that whatever you're doing is fine. And like when you go to a water park and you're about to get down a slide, even though it looks like it's gonna kill you, you're like, there's no way it's gonna kill me.
Yeah,
like, this is a business.
Have you been to Coney Island and ridden the Cyclone?
I've never ridden.
Oh my God, it's exactly like that. You hop on the Cyclone, and just before you even start going, you just hear the whole track like just like locking in the wheels to the side and then going up and down. I don't know if it's still fully active, but I know that like
I think
during hurricanes and shit, they don't run that because, as you can imagine, it was it's weather dependent.
Yeah,
I would think, and during the winter, I don't think they do too. But that's a place that is like established themselves as or the Cyclone has established itself as a ride that won't kill you. Yeah. So like the fact that Class Action Park is a place that all kids wanted to go to, even they were saying all kids, New York City, New Jersey, PA, wherever, makes it just such a different time. Just because, like, how many of your friends would realistically want to go to Action Park. Excuse me, Action Park. I love how I keep calling it by the movie name.
Yeah, I know. I just think it's Class Action Water Park. I keep saying. I mean, like that. It's like so. The fact that it's so hypothetical just makes it like so hard to answer that.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, I don't. I'm saying now, like I would go, but like I really wouldn't want to be jammed up with a broken leg, especially for the rest of summer or whatever it was. And then like
broken leg, like at kind of best sometimes.
Right. How about can we talk a little bit about Motor World? How did you feel about Motor World? So basically, I mean, as you guys know, if you have seen the show, which I'm sure you have because you've been listening to the entire spoiler as of right now.
If you haven't, you should go now.
But having the go-karts and like all these raceways and people were obviously putting back beers, sipping tequila, and then going on the raceway and just getting
straight onto the highway too.
Just getting full DUIs. Wait, what?
Because
what do you mean?
the water park was on one side,
right,
and
it like split a highway.
World was on the other side of the highway, and there was a crossover. But I think it was just like you just go through the highway. It's not like a bridge or anything.
Really?
Yes, I'm gonna go with yes.
Okay, I don't.
Like
I don't
you not remembering it makes me think I'm making it up, but
right.
I think I didn't.
Oh well, there you go. Wait, but how would you get the go karts from Motor World across the highway?
You just like drive off the track, and it's like
and you go across the highway.
It's designed, yeah. And it was like that was a bad thing. They were like, we'd be so drunk and we would just take it and go across the highway to the other side of the park.
But there was a little loop over the highway.
I don't think there was. There was definitely like you know how like cops can wait in the middle between two lanes of a highway, like when you're speeding.
Sure.
So there's like the little opening there. I think you could just rip right through that.
No
from one
shot.
Side.
No shot.
I'm looking into this.
I hear what you're saying, but I really, you know what? Everything else about this little water park has been quite sus, as they say. So, Katie, I wouldn't put it past you if you're actually correct there, but I don't.
I'm 99%.
I don't remember that part. But just the Motor World idea in general, and I think DUIs were obviously an issue just in terms of people bashing into each other and getting those
DUIs.
Getting those necks, turned it.
Okay, all right. I'm looking at this thing right now and it's not you definitely go across Route 94 100%. And there's a little picture of a car. Yeah, 100%. I'm saying you dismount. We'll put this in the episode notes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Also, so we were talking about the two parents, like at the cemetery with their child.
Oh yeah.
And then
brutal.
Chris Gethard, who's the comedian who I was saying, like he said the park was legendary. He was saying that a lot of things were fucked up back then. Like that's how the movie ended. He's like, yeah, a lot of things were fucked up back then.
Totally.
Which is true. Just think about like everybody who was getting away with what they were getting away with in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, something that I was gonna say too about like the idea of like kids not really being looked after that much. Oh wait.
Sure. And people used to get kidnapped all the time. Back in the day.
Thank you for that segue.
What?
Because
you like that thought?
Did you ever? Yeah, love that. Did you ever watch the CNN series about the decades, where like every season is the 60s, the 70s, the 80s?
I've heard of it.
It's really good. You should watch it. In the 80s, one episode is about the rise of serial killers because that just kind of wasn't a thing until the 80s.
Why?
Like it probably was here and there, but like it was never. I mean, it just like blew up like as a pop culture phenomenon. And that was also kind of gave rise to like starting to make sure you know where your kid is after school and stuff.
Is that when they made up it's 10 p.m.? Do you know where your children are?
It probably is when they came up with that.
That's on Fox, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Do you know where your children are?
Do you know where your children are?
This is late 60s, it says. In response to widespread urban rioting, reminding parents keep children indoors and safe from danger. I completely don't even know what that website's from. Though I just read that.
Well, I mean, it could be true though. That sounded pretty in depth. We'll give that guy credit or girl.
Yeah, groupm.com.
Go ahead, but you were saying that people.
Oh yeah. So I mean, like now that you have serial, it's like the 80s kind of like with the rise of like the 24-hour news cycle. Just started like packing in, like people were way more aware of how everyday dangerous like your suburban neighborhood might be.
I wonder what. Maybe we just found out more about serial killers in the 80s.
I think that's kind of it. And like when it's
we
all
found
over
out
the
a lot.
news,
we found a lot more. Out a lot more stuff in the 80s.
But like when you start
Run
seeing
DMC.
that on TV, yeah, there you freaking go, guy. Like once everything's on TV, then like, okay, oh, you can serial kill?
Yeah,
like,
right.
I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, where's the cinnamon toast crunch?
Yeah, something like that.
All right, well, I'm obviously joking, everyone.
Obviously.
So Katie, this was really a lovely episode, and thanks gosh you're joining us all the time now for Ted Jones World Podcast. Rate, comment, subscribe. You like what you hear and you want to hear more stuff just like it, let us know. So the reason we actually started talking about this documentary / film was because it was actually very good. If you haven't seen it by now, at the end of this episode, I hope you weren't watching it and listening at the same time because that would have been tough.
That
would have been tough.
Scene selection.
But HBO Max Class Action Park, I strongly recommend it. And I don't know, do you like Rotten Tomatoes, Katie? Do you follow Rotten Tomatoes? Not the actual food.
I don't think I ever do.
Website. Really?
Do you?
Yeah, for the most part. So on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie actually got a 96.
Oh, that's really
which
good.
is really good. IMDb gave it like
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. IMDb I don't usually listen to as much just because they don't have the numbers in between 7 and 5, 7.5. You know, they don't give 7.25s when I feel like Rotten Tomatoes giving a full
too committal.
Percentages. Then I feel super confident
that
in
extra
them.
decimal place.
And also, I like Rotten Tomatoes in general. They usually have a good idea of what's going on over there. Episode 63 in the books. KT, got anything else to say or what? Should we wrap it up?
Chris Christie got a really funny shout out in the movie. That's it though. It was just funny. It was
because he's the governor of New Jersey.
It said that they just had to slip it in, and also like Don T is in every single documentary I've ever seen in my
Donnie
life.
T gets a lot of love from these documentaries that have come out within the last like 4 days. And it's usually not nice love. Well, they said that Gene Mulvihill was actually too crazy for Donnie T to even invest in one of his projects. No, I thought they said it was the other way.
No. Did he say it was Don didn't want to?
Yeah, Don thought Gene Mulvihill was too crazy.
That's really funny.
And then one of the guys on the show was like, dude, Gene was just too crazy for Trump. What a badass.
I just want to read this one quote that I took a picture of off the screen that Chris Christie, I think, spoke at Gene's funeral.
He gave like a little eulogy of Gene Mulvihill. So and this was also after this quote came in right after the two parents who like mourned their son at the cemetery like were about to go off screen.
You're wiping tears, and then it pulls up this text. After hearing of the death so this is after Gene dies. After hearing of the death of the New Vernon, New Jersey resident, Governor Chris Christie said, Gene Mulvihill's contributions to the economic development of Sussex County are questionable. Right, let me read this one more time from the top.
Go to the back.
Edit. After hearing of the death of the New Vernon, New Jersey resident, Governor Chris Christie said, Gene Mulvihill's contributions to the economic development of Sussex County are unquestionable. His unique vision and entrepreneurial spirit will be greatly missed.
Wow.
And I couldn't have said any better myself.
Well, I think when you're the governor, you see those dollar signs, you're apt to come up with something clever. All right, thank you so much. Episode 63. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Ted Jones messed with the wrong melon farmers.
Ted Jones, I also call him the eighth wonder of the real estate world.
Ted Jones, who knows? It could be
Ted Jones?
The Ted Jones World Podcast.